Good day to my lecturer and module coordinators. Today's topic is the Bronfenbrenner's bioecological model. So the assignment was to talk about the model relating to you as a person, and I will not lie to you, this assignment has made me do a lot of reflection as to who I am as a person. So let's start off with me. My name is Yumna Mia. I am a person that loves to go places, but not places like the mall to shop. I enjoy doing things like hiking and picnics and just being outside in a calm environment away from people. I love kids. I grew up in a very big family, so I absolutely love kids, which is one of my reasons for becoming a teacher. Yeah, that's it for who I am as a person. Let us move on to my microsystem. So my microsystem, it talks about my friends, my family, and my school. So I grew up in two different households because my parents got divorced when I was 2.5 years old. And my parents used to constantly fight, and I was always put in the middle. So because of being put in the middle, I now have a bit of a weird relationship with my parents where we're not close, but I can communicate with them when some things are making me happy, or when I'm uncomfortable, or when I just need their advice. When it comes to my friends, so this also relates to school because this is how this had impacted me. So I was moved between 3 different schools, between grade 1 to grade 3. My first school was called Murray Hill Primary. I was only there for about 3 days until my dad decided that he wanted to move me to a Muslim school. So I got moved to the Muslim school, and I was there for the rest of grade 1, and I was there in grade 2 as well. And I used to get severely bullied because I was tiny. I didn't really talk. I was too afraid to tell someone no. And it just used to keep going on from my friends in school. I didn't have friends in the Muslim school, and I used to get bullied by the older children as well in the transport. But when I changed schools, which was my third school, which was Evergreen Primary, I made some amazing friends. Honestly, they were so remarkable. They changed my life, and they made me a stronger person, and they taught me how to stand up for myself. As well as I met some amazing teachers that also inspired me to become a teacher, because I remember being in first term, grade 3, and I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to read, how to write, how to spell, how to do basic mathematics. And my teacher, that had me in that year, she sat with me for the first term, and she brought me up to speed. She taught me how to read and write, and once she taught me how to read, I became such an avid reader. I never put down a book. Like, I would finish a book in a day, like one novel, just done. That was my grade 3 teacher. She was so spectacular to me. Honestly, these people had my family, not so much of a positive influence on me because of constantly being stuck in the middle, but my friends, they grounded me. They were the ones that influenced me and taught me how to love all cultures and different religions. They taught me about the religions because there were only 2 Muslim girls in my class at that time, and everybody else was Christian and Hindu and Tamil, and I grew up with these people, learning how to love their cultures while loving my own religion as well. Moving on, I've got my mesosphere, and in my mesosphere I have my my parents talking to my teachers as well as my friends' families. So my parents used to get feedback from my teachers at least every 6 months, and sometimes it wasn't really that good. So my dad would sit with me when I was at his house, and he would work with me doing maths because that was my weak point. I had struggled with maths because honestly, the only way I could learn was when my dad taught it to me, and it wasn't really that much because I only saw him every second weekend. My mom had her own things going on, so she couldn't really help me when it came to my schoolwork, so I had to wait till I got to my dad's. When it came to my friends, I was close with one of my friends' families. She was so sweet, and her family was so loving, and they took me in like I was their own daughter because my friend and I were the same age. I was just a couple months older than her. And we got along so well that even our best friend, I mean, our sisters became best friends. So that had an impact not only on me but on my sister as well, that friendship of mine. Then I have my exosphere, I mean, exosystem. So my exosystem, it's a bit bigger. It's got a lot more things in it. It's got court, it's got debt, it's got my parents' work stress. It's it's very busy, as you can see there. Also, your parents' work stress, debt, my little sister being in hospital, and court. So everything here interlinks. My mom and stepfather were in debt because of my stepfather's family. And that meant that even though my dad was sending child support for my sister and I, the child support money was being used to help with the household bills. Because my parents couldn't afford it at that time, my mom and my stepfather, as well as my little sister's hospital bills. Even though we had medical aid, my sister was in hospital so often because of her heart. She had an abnormality on her heart which caused her to have episodes. But she's better now, thank goodness she's better. But it gave her, you know, like she would see things and stuff like that. So, sorry. While I was not close with my little sister growing up, the stress that everything put on my mom caused her to ill treat my little sister Atya, which is not the one that's in hospital. She is from my mom's first marriage along with me. My mom would ill treat my sister and I, and the money that was supposed to be used for us for our basic things, it wasn't being used the right way. And my sister and I, we were constantly stuck in the middle, especially me being the oldest. I was constantly being pushed and pulled from both sides, and this affected my thinking and behavior negatively, as I was very angry in that time. I was a very angry child. I felt incredibly misunderstood and I felt used and abused. So my way of thinking as well, I just wanted to get out of that place as soon as I could. Then we have my macro system, which talks about my madrasa, which is basically Sunday school but for Muslim children, which is done every day after school. It closes on school holidays and opens when school opens. This was all the way from when I was a little girl. It was mandatory that I went because it's religious studies. You have to learn more about your religion to be a good, in my case, a good Muslim. I was never really close with anybody in madrasa. I was a very quiet person at that time when I was in madrasa because I didn't know anybody. They weren't really my people, they weren't my friends. We didn't see eye to eye, so I kept to myself. And when I was there, I would feel incredibly isolated. I would feel alone because I had nobody. Then we've got my religious as well as cultural dressing. So my religious dressing, I won't lie, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. I love how beautiful the outfits are, but I don't really like wearing it because of the fact that my dad reinforced it so much when I was younger. My mom not so much, she didn't really dress religiously, but my dad did it so much that I don't really like wearing it anymore because I have really bad memories of me being in them. I would feel really like hot on days where he would make us wait when it was really hot, and it would be really exhausting to wear a long dress that covered everything as well as a headscarf every day, walking on streets, doing some shopping and things like that. Not like we didn't have a car, but over parts in Durban, we'd park the car somewhere and then we'd walk to where we needed to go, as well as in town. And the heat, and it's bustling, and you feel uncomfortable. When it comes to my cultural dressing, I don't really know which part of India my family is from. We are Indian, we came as indentured laborers. But I love my cultural dressing. It's not something that I wear often, but I love it, and I feel like it makes me feel closer to my ancestors. Like, I feel beautiful, like a princess in my religious outfits, which is why not religious, sorry, cultural outfits, which is why I wear it. The political and economic status at the time affected my family, especially me, negatively because I remember getting my period and there not being enough money to buy the products that I needed. And so, with what I had to make do with it, even though I was really struggling to adjust to it. I had no choice but to make do with it. because we couldn't afford it, and I couldn't go and talk to my dad about it. I felt really uncomfortable talking to my father about it because this is a man. So I would speak to my mother about it, and there was nothing my mom could do about it. So another thing that made me really angry growing up as a teenager at that time was the fact that I couldn't properly care for myself and take care of my body. And I felt so ugly in my skin, and I didn't love myself. Which also led to me being angry at my parents, at just everything. Um, then I have my older sister's visits. So my older sister Wasila is from my stepdad's first marriage. She I love my sister a lot, even though she's not my biological sister, she's my stepsister. We don't differentiate. Even though growing up we weren't so close because she felt like I was taking her father away from her, and I felt like when she came, we didn't get along because when she came, she was the oldest, and I was used to being the oldest. So there was also this thing about her getting more attention in that time than my sisters and I, which was something that we struggled with. And I get it was because she didn't really come often, but it was something that I struggled with as well as my sisters, which also made me upset because it felt like, there was a lot of favoritism going on, which is very blatant. So this was, as you can notice, it's a pattern of just me being angry throughout my life. Angry, hurt, like that's just how I felt. That's how I thought as well. The only thought I had was get good marks, get a job, get out of here. That's basically how I thought. Nobody could change the way I thought, even my dad. I love my dad, so that is a lot. Moving on to my chronosphere. Now, the chronosphere was something that was later added onto Bronfenbrenner's theory, which is why I have included it in my model and I'm talking about it currently. So I got married and I moved to Johannesburg. I got married last year at the age of 19, and now I'm a 20-year-old woman. And my husband, then boyfriend, had a very big impact on me. He told me that the only way you'd be able to achieve peace in your life is if you forgive and move on, which is something that I've had to do. And honestly, it's helped me let go of a lot of the anger that I had. I do have a lot of trauma that I do not feel comfortable talking about, but it helped me let go of a lot of the anger that I had at that time, which is why I married this man, because I feel so safe and loved by him. Another thing is moving to Johannesburg, which is a very, very big change in my life. You're moving in with somebody, you have to adjust and compromise. You can't just do things the way you had been doing when you weren't married, when you were just boyfriend and girlfriend. And my husband and I, we lived separately while we were dating because it was a long distance relationship. So yeah, it was a very big adjustment for me, and the way I think now has changed. Now I look for we're a shop that's cheaper, and I look for places where I can get a deal. I was so proud of myself when I got a Clicks Club card. That is my thought now. The way I feel is like I want to be able to give my kids a life that I didn't have, and I've already spoke about this with my husband, that it's important for me to break the abusive and poverty cycle, and that is something we are both currently working towards. That is my family history as well, abuse and poverty. So yeah, the way I feel now compared to when I was younger, the way I think, it's changed drastically. My family and friends have had a major impact on that because I've had to come to terms with a lot of things that have happened in my life, and I wouldn't have been able to do it without my friends and my husband, and just people that have made me feel special, because that's one thing that my family never did. Because when you're the oldest, you're constantly overlooked, and you constantly made to feel like you have to be responsible for everything from a young age. So that was a lot of anger for me. But now that I'm an older sister and I'm a wife, I see the struggles that my parents went through. I don't really feel it right now. I don't have kids of my own, but I understand why they did what they did. While I don't agree with the abuse that I went through, I would honestly maybe change the way I behaved when I was younger. That's a bit of reflection on my part of myself. But thank you so much for watching my video. I'm so sorry that it's quite long.